Hi, you guys. It's Sarah from Plan Sarah Plan, and welcome to my daily duo plan with me for September 20th through the 26th. It's Monday evening, and normally I like to do this on Monday morning, but if you watched my hourly plan with me, you know that today was my mom's birthday, and I had already decided to make her dream come true and just spend the whole day with her and bring her over to my house and bake her favorite cake. I've just taken her home, and so now it is Monday evening, and I'm going to retroactively fill in Monday. I'm going to do very little editing today because I'm getting such a late start. My kit is from Mama Gloria. This is the one I chose for this week because we have the first day of fall, and this one says Hello Autumn, and I thought it was perfect. She's got such cute hand-drawn art here, a little fox and a mushroom and a basket of mushrooms. And as always, tons of functional stickers available in her kits, as well as the check boxes that I use like crazy in my daily duo. The date headers are beautiful. Look at Monday. Look at this. So cute. And because there are 8 strips, like this is the 8th one here, I will use the 8th one on the back of this notes page from last week, where I do kind of a brain dump area and keep track of any ideas that pop into my head. So I'll be right back. I'm going to set up the notes page in time lapse and then come back. There we go. It's all done. So it's so easy when you use a sticker kit to just have everything that you need right there, and it's all color coordinated. Okay, so the next thing is going to be setting up today, which will be a recap, since I'm already down here in the 5 o'clock hour. And let me talk for just a second, because I know some of you love it when I talk. So let me just talk. I might mess up, but that's okay. So I had a request to talk about how I got into teaching piano. And I don't know how interesting that would be to everyone, but since someone asked, I think Chris, I think you're the one that asked, if I'm not mistaken. I have 2 Chris's who comment a lot, so I can't remember off the top of my head which Chris, but here's the way it went. I started taking piano lessons when I was 7 years old. And before that, I was already kind of tinkering around at the piano because my dad is a career musician. He's not a pianist, but he plays piano. And so I took piano lessons all through elementary school, middle school, high school. When I got to middle school, which they called junior high school back in the day, I was asked to be one of the accompanists for the school choir. And that was not unusual back in the 80s when this was happening. It was actually around 79 when this happened. There were several people. There was one boy and the rest of them were girls who played piano well enough to be able to accompany a choir. But I did notice that I was getting a lot of the more difficult accompaniments. Piano was just a thing that came naturally to me. I did have to work at it, but you know, it came pretty naturally to me. So here's what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to give you this much of a teaser, and then I'm going to go on time lapse and finish this page because there's no way I can write and tell a story at the same time. But let me just bring the story up to this point. By the time I was a senior in high school, I got an after-school job at the local music store teaching beginner piano lessons, and I was only 16 years old. Okay? That I was not a great piano teacher, but that was my first experience teaching piano, and it was so good for me, and I really valued that opportunity. Plus, it sounded a little more prestigious than working at the fast food joint, which is what a bunch of my friends were doing at that time. Okay, so that's enough of the story for now. I will go on time lapse and finish Monday, and then we'll come back for the next chapter. Monday all finished and totally filled up. I've checked off just about everything except I need to go and clean up the kitchen now after we bake the cake. Okay, so we'll do the next chapter of the piano teacher life story. So let's fast forward. I taught 3 years when I was in high school. So, you know, now that I think about it, I was not a senior when I started because I taught 3 years. So one of those years was my first year of college, but I think I was a junior in high school when I started doing the piano lessons after school. So fast forward, after those 3 years, I had a little bit of a change of thinking, change of mindset. I had always assumed I would be a musician. I'd always assumed it. And I don't know if you've ever experienced anything like this, but I sort of had a crisis of, wait a minute, I didn't consider anything else. And I started thinking that maybe I wanted to be a computer programmer. I actually switched majors to computer programming, of all things. And that's back when we didn't have internet, not even dial-up. And so I did that very short term for about a year. Also changed my major to sociology. Why? That was my husband's major, my future husband's major. And so I thought it sounded interesting. But anyway, let's just fast forward. The next time I taught piano was when our sons were, I would say, 5 and 7. And that was the point at which I felt like they could look after themselves for a little while. And I didn't have a lot of students yet. I started off with just the neighborhood kids. So I think I had a total of something like 6 students, something like that. And I taught them all on one day of the week. And that one day, the boys knew that they were going to take our golden retriever and go have quiet playtime in their bedrooms and take care of the dog. And I would teach piano for those hours, and they actually did a really good job. I don't think I ever had to stop a lesson to go deal with something that the kids were into, that they shouldn't be into. I think they did a really good job with that as a whole. So that's what I did then. And we moved, that was when we lived in Florida. We actually lived in Florida for 8 years. And when we moved back home to Virginia, I decided to take my piano teaching to the next level. And that was a big change, and we will save that for the next chapter. And now go on time lapse for the rest of Tuesday. And here's Tuesday. Tomorrow, better put the date on there, huh? Tuesday, I do have a lunch date, so I'm excited about that. I almost forgot. So it's a good thing we started doing a plan with me after we took Mom home, huh? So I'm really looking forward to that. And we'll go on to Wednesday and do the next chapter of this riveting drama. Okay, so when we moved back to Virginia, I started thinking of my piano teaching as more of a increasingly full-time job or serious job. Mind you, we were homeschooling our sons. So it was not a completely full-time job, but I was taking it more seriously. And when we moved back to Virginia, there was some name recognition. There were people who knew me and knew of me as a musician, believe it or not. And they knew of my father as the high school band director. And therefore, I had quite an abundance of inquiries about teaching piano. So as soon as I started teaching piano, I started off right out of the gate with 16 students. That was before I had really done much marketing or anything. Just started with 16 students. And so what I decided to do at that point was to go back to college and get a specialized certificate in piano teaching. And I'd never heard of such a thing, and I thought, this is exactly what I need. And I'll make a long story short. I was there for 7 years, and I taught piano the entire time that this was going on. And I ultimately received national certification as a teacher. I received this certificate in piano teaching from the university, and I received a certificate in arts management, and also I earned a bachelor's degree in piano performance, and I graduated the valedictorian. I'm going to let you chew on that for a second while we go into time lapse. Okay, so Wednesday's done. Sorry it's so dark in here, but like I said, we are at the end of the day on Monday, and this is what Wednesday turned out to be. I'm leaving one of these instead of the big box because it's all art for my memory verse, which is something I practice by writing it every day, and then by the end of the week I commit it to memory, or I have it committed to memory. Okay, so graduated from college. Now I'm like, I have all these credentials to go along with my piano teaching. And then I'm also elected the president of our local Music Teachers Association, and things just are crazy. It's like, piano teaching as a career. And I learned so much through those 7 years of specific pedagogical training and observing other piano teachers, going to conferences, all kinds of things that I did. And it really did overhaul my piano teaching. And I would say, though, that the most valuable thing about going back to school was the breadth of historical knowledge that it helped me to bring into my teaching. Not all students are interested in classical music, and not all students are going to be music majors when they get out of high school. But it really is nice to be able to provide your piano students with whatever level of depth that they desire in their music study. And that was just really, really nice. So, anyway, I went into teaching as my kids graduated from high school and they went on to college. I was not homeschooling them anymore. I had more time, and I upped my enrollment to this crazy number. I had something like 50 students a week, and that was with no group lessons. So I hear sometimes people say, oh, I have like 70 to 100 students. Well, they're doing group lessons. They're not doing that many private lessons, probably. I mean, in some cases, they might be doing that. But I would say in 99% of the cases, they're doing group lessons. So anyway, I was teaching 50 lessons per week, and it was literally a full-time job because of the prep work and the follow-up work, the lesson notes, you design a unique curriculum for each student. There are some things that are great across the board for every student, but a great deal of what you do is a custom curriculum for each student, and that requires a lot of time outside of the teaching hours. And so I went into full-time teaching, and let me give you a cliffhanger to end this chapter with. Oh, our local newspaper starting doing a contest. Like, I bet your local newspaper might do something like this. They would do, like, you vote for your favorite restaurant, your favorite place to get your dog groomed, your favorite place for piano lessons. And I went neck and neck with the music store that hired me when I was in high school. And you'll have to just stay tuned to find out what happened. first Thursday completed. It's my niece's sweet 16th birthday, and it's a home day, so I did section out part of my to-do list for self-care. I love my home days. So that's Thursday, and then we'll move on to Friday. Okay, so continuing with the competition, the very important competition that the local newspaper ran. The first 2 years of that competition, I won what they called the Bronze Award. So there was platinum. How did this go? Gold. I guess it was gold, silver, and bronze. There was no platinum. It was gold, silver, and bronze. Well, the local music store was always in first place. And I loved the owner of that music store. He gave me my first job, such a nice man. But at the same time, I'm going to win that gold medal, okay, with the newspaper. So I worked really hard. I campaigned for people to vote in that election. On the third year, I guess I bumped my way up. Like I got bronze the first year. I have no idea who on earth the person who managed to squeak ahead of me in second place was. I'd never heard of them. But it was the music store I taught at in high school, then this unknown entity, and then me. And so I wanted gold. So the next year, I think I got silver. So we're making progress. And then the year after that, I finally got gold, and I was so happy. I got gold for the next like 3 or 4 years. And then I never fell from grace. I don't want to say that. The contest ceased to exist. So they stopped the contest, which honestly is a big relief because that was a lot of campaigning. Okay, so now enter Erin Condren. What could Erin Condren have to do with my piano teaching saga, you ask? Well, it was this. When I discovered Erin Condren, it was about 2015. And that was the year that I decided I would try to get some of my music published. So I write music. You can tell here I'm having a hard time talking and placing stickers, but I'm going to forge ahead. I write music for my students, and I had done so for many years. And even when I was a child, I wrote music. And why is this in my hand? And I decided to use my planner for a number of things. For one thing, my 50th birthday was approaching, and I had some goals. I had 3 big life goals that I wanted to reach by my 50th birthday. And I decided to buy my first planner. It was not an Erin Condren, and let me back up. It was not my first planner. I've used planners my whole life, but they've been notebooks. They've been those at a glance brand that you get at Staples. Especially when those 7 years in getting my piano teaching certification and doing all of those college courses, I used one of those at-a-glance planners that's in 15-minute increments all the time. But what I mean is I bought my first pretty planner, okay? And it was one, I can't remember the name of it, but I found it on Amazon. And within a few months, I discovered Erin Condren because at this point we had Instagram, and it was just a matter of time before I discovered the planner community. Well, I ordered an Erin Condren planner about the same time that I was setting this goal that I would write 1 piece per month for my students and try to sell it. I didn't know how to do it, but there was this amazing group on Facebook called Piano Teacher Central. Like 6,000 or so piano teachers at that time were in the group. What a tremendous resource, because teaching piano can be a really solitary job. And it's so great to have like a water cooler, that's what they call it, in this group, a water cooler to bounce ideas off of other teachers and to just get ideas from each other. But anyway, the person who started this group is a composer and publisher. She started her own company, and she reminded me so much of Erin Condren once I started figuring out who Erin Condren was. She started her own company called Piano Pronto, and it has risen to become one of the leading piano music publishing companies that there are. I mean, there are the big house publishers like Alfred and Hal Leonard and Faber and FJH and others. But Piano Pronto, the great thing about it is that Jennifer Eklund, a woman, owns this thing. I mean, I don't have anything against companies owned by men, but this is just very impressive. She owns it, she writes music, she composes music, and she has business savvy. And she took this company where it started off where she was just binding piano books in her home with a comb binder and shipping them out herself to now, I mean, it's still a very small company in terms of the number of people who work there in California at the company, but you'll just have to look it up. Go to pianopronto.com, check out the website. You will not find a better, more comprehensive resource for piano teachers and piano students on the web. None of the big publishers have it. It's phenomenal. And her husband, Jennifer's husband, made the website. It's amazing. So what happened along about this time where I'm in my planner and I'm setting a goal to write one piece per month for my students, Jennifer Eklund sends me a message because she notices that I'm starting to promote these things in the group, Piano Teacher Central. I don't even know if that was a no-no or not, but she was very gracious about it. She said that she would like to look at my music. So I had 6 months worth of those pieces written, not counting things that I'd written over the years, but just this current project. I sent those to her, and long story short, not really short, but she took me on as a composer with Piano Pronto Composers Community. And so if you go to pianopronto.com and you click on Composers Community, you're going to see I've got like my whole area there with music that's been published by Piano Pronto. Okay, that wasn't a cliffhanger, but we're going to go on time lapse and then we'll come back with the next chapter. Here's Friday, which is always our pizza night, and my mom and I are going to go out to lunch that day. And all of these days, keep in mind, will end up looking like this, pretty much, as we go through the days, and because I do a recap at the end of the day. All right, so we're on to the weekend, and we're going to close my life story as it pertains to piano teaching and composing. Okay, so after I went nuts with the full-time load of 50 students, which is way too many, in my opinion, for any sane person who has anything to do besides teach piano, I scaled it back and I decided that I would take Mondays off. So if you've watched my Plan With Me's before, you know that I don't do piano lessons on Mondays. I am a bit of a homebody creative type. I need some time and space to just work on other projects. And, you know, sometimes that's composing. Sometimes it's arranging music for church. Sometimes it is doing videos. And, you know, because my life has now grown and evolved to include this life of an influencer. And so I get products to review, which is so much fun. Where am I going to put this? I don't think I've done many down at the bottom. So let's do down at the bottom. So I don't teach on Mondays. I've scaled it back to where I do 6 students per day. And I do half-hour lessons only, which is not ideal. But that is the way that I can include the most students and take the most off of my waiting list, which is just how it is. Now, I do have one student for one semester right now who is an hour, but that's because he's holding a spot for someone who's not coming in until the spring term. But anyway, as a rule, I do half-hour lessons. And then when the pandemic hit, I learned how to do Zoom lessons. So I actually have 2 little girls that I don't teach all the time, but I teach sometimes. They live in Austria. How cool is that? They're Americans living in Austria, so we have no language issues. And their mother, before she was married, no, she was married, but before she had any children, their mother took piano lessons from me. And I think it was during that time when I was never saying no to a new piano student. I just taught all the time. And she was a morning student. I used to do morning students. Don't do that now. And, it was just a different time. I was younger. My life was different. And I have figured out what works best for me. And teaching in the morning does not work for me. And having 50 students does not work for me. That's too much peopling. Okay, so we're going to do the weekend. Is that enough of my life story, Chris? And are you even watching this video? I sure hope so, because this was for you. And other people may not even be watching right now because who wants to hear the career trajectory path of a piano teacher? I don't know. Maybe you do if you're a piano teacher, or if you are an aspiring piano teacher, or maybe if you're just a teacher of another subject, you might just be interested. Who knows? Because it is a little different, You're a business owner. You don't work at a school. For the most part, some private music teachers work in a school, but I don't. And so you are a business owner, and I think I need to come up a little bit higher with this little box. So maybe it was interesting. I don't know. All right, let's go into time lapse and wrap this up because my husband is ready to eat dinner and he has cooked it for us. While I was doing this, we're having baked potatoes loaded with good stuff. And follow up, speaking of food, if you watched my hourly plan with me on Saturday evening or yesterday, or maybe you're going to watch it, you will hear me mention duck fat. Well, lo and behold, I bought that duck fat, and I cannot wait to try the roasted rosemary vegetables with duck fat. That was in my Kroger mailer recently. So just wanted you to know I did buy the duck fat, and that stuff's expensive. It's $9.99 for a jar of it. And it smells like, I opened it up to smell it. It smells kind of like turkey drippings. After the broth from a turkey after you've roasted a turkey. It smells a lot like that, actually. Here we are, everything's done. I'm not even going to straighten top priorities because it's time for loaded baked potatoes, but this is how everything turned out. Look here, complete rest. This is an inside joke. My husband and I love watching old movies, and whenever anybody had like a nervous breakdown in an old black and white movie, the doctor would prescribe complete rest. So this poor soul would go off to like a sanitarium. Maybe, is it called a sanatorium? I don't know. Some like palatial home in the mountains with crisp air where they could just sit and look at nature and have complete rest. And I don't know what they did about carrying on with work. No idea, but they had complete rest. And it was normally prescribed for something like 6 months to a year. So when we have our rest days, my husband and I like to call it complete rest. All right, so then also another highlight of this week is going to be the review of the highly anticipated item. That's all I can say. And anything else in here that's interesting? Probably not. First day of fall, that's interesting. And that is it. Here's what we did last week. We had all this washi tape, and you can see here I ended up filling in a bunch of stuff as the days went by, and didn't really use much of the ideas in brain dump, but sometimes I use that whole deal. So you never know. Excuse me, you never know. All right, so I'm not editing this video. I'm just plopping every clip into iMovie, and then I'm letting the chips fall. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.